Hello, welcome everyone to another Q&A office hour and strategy call. I am just connecting to our Facebook group right now. If you could just be patient with me just for a moment, that would be awesome. All right, I think we're just about ready to go. For those of you joining us on LinkedIn and on YouTube, welcome. It's so good to see all of you again. As a reminder, we do these Q&A office hour calls twice per month, and every session has a different topic. And today I'm having a conversation with you. Sorry, just distracted a bit, about the mealtime method. I'm super passionate about this one. All right, let me just check my audio here. Oh, we're good. Marcia, welcome. Thank you for joining me. So our team is joining us today. We have Molly on the LinkedIn and YouTube, and I believe we have Hillary in the Facebook group. So if you have any questions for me as we're moving along, please drop them in the comments and I'll be happy to get to them with our team's help. I am Jeannie Petrucci. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. I am the founder of Living Plate RX, and super excited to be here with you today. The mealtime method is something that I used and practiced for years before I even called it the mealtime method. But I had such success with it in use with my patients, and we hear from our members in our larger community of thousands of nutrition professionals that it works for them as well. So fair to say it is a proven technique for having a conversation around food with your clients. It's also super valuable if you're going to be creating meal plans. And it really is how we create a foundation for the meal plans that we create for our community. So what I would love for you all to do right now, let me just make sure that we're good. I'm getting an error message on Facebook. Hillary, if you're on with me, or Marcia, could you just give me a thumbs up and let me know that we are streaming into the Facebook group? It looks like we are, but I have an error message coming up for me. So thank you for being here with me today. So if you've ever struggled with, clients who are just like feeling overwhelmed by messaging from either their doctors or other healthcare professionals, giving them messages about nutrition, and they're confused, they become overwhelmed. They become overwhelmed with food rules. Just drop a yes in chat if you've ever had clients coming to you and they're just kind of overwhelmed with all of it. I found that on a regular basis with my clients. They would come in just, anxious and stressed. I did focus on serving a community, the oncology community, people who've been touched by cancer coming into my counseling sessions, just really stressed around food. And overall, like kind of high level, knowing what they needed to do to comply with their doctor's requests, but just not really understanding how they could implement it. And the mealtime method will help you have that conversation with them. Okay, I just want to get in here. Great, perfect. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Marcia. Hi, Irene. Nice to see you. All right, we're good to go. So today, mealtime method, we're going to talk about it. We're just going to kind of unpack it. What does it mean? Like, how do you introduce it in a way that empowers your clients and really supports you? Both sides are really important, right? Like, we want our clients to have positive health outcomes as a result of working with us. That's awesome, right? But you also need to be aware of kind of what effort you have to put into it to help them get the outcomes. And this really helps you be super efficient and stay in your lane of nutrition counseling. We're also going to talk about how you can integrate it into your workflow without kind of starting from scratch. Like, tell me about the foods that you like and how can we take those foods and translate them into meals that are going to help you meet your health goals. So we're going to talk about that. Also, how does it connect to sustainable behavior change? Really important. And then why this 6-point food guide, really this framework, works so well in the real world, right? Like in practice on the front lines of nutrition care. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. We polled our group. So we have a private Facebook group called Scale Your Nutrition Practice. If you are joining us on LinkedIn or YouTube, please go over to Facebook, search Scale Your Nutrition Practice, and join our group. Really active group. We share best practices. We bat around ideas. It's just such a wonderful community, really great resource for you if you are a food as medicine practitioner. Not everybody in our group is a registered dietitian. We have health coaches, we have doctors of chiropractic, we have physical therapists, trainers, anybody who has a conversation around nutrition with their clients. That's going to be the space for you to come. So join us there. We poll before every Q&A to kind of understand what our group wants to learn about. And the number one question that we got was, how do I introduce the Mealtime Method to clients in a way that feels empowering and not overwhelming? So what the Mealtime Method does, and I'm going to share my screen today. I don't always do that during Q&As, but I think it's important for you to kind of see the Mealtime Method. Actually, why don't we just start there, because I'm a very visual learner. And for those of you who are as well, this will really help. Let me just share screen. This will really help you envision exactly what I'm talking about. All right, here we go. I'm going to reduce my image. I'll remove it actually so that you can really see here. Okay, here's our resource library. I'm going to take you to where the Mealtime Method is, because we have a lot of questions about that too. So this is the resource library that our members get access to. So the meal planner is over here, but right now we're going to hang out in the resource library. The Mealtime Method guides are found in the course collections. And why do we keep them there? Because the Mealtime Method is associated with a specific nutrition prescription. So let's just come to hello for a quick second. I'll just pop up here in the bottom corner. The Mealtime Method relates to foods that fulfill a nutrition prescription. For those of you who are not RDs, a nutrition prescription is an intake related solution to an intake related problem, right? So let's say that somebody comes to you and they have a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. That is not their nutrition diagnosis. Their nutrition diagnosis might be excessive intake of processed carbs, right? So when you're assessing them and you're looking at their blood work and or the referral that came from the doctor that says this client has type 2 diabetes, you're not treating the type 2 diabetes, you're treating the intake. And that always relates to the food, right? And supplements sometimes too. But today we're going to be focusing on the food. So just wanted to clarify that before I take you into the Mealtime Method. So I'm going to go to the Heart Health collection. We have a collection of materials for every nutrition prescription, but we'll just start with Heart Health, for example. All right, so this is our Nutrition and Heart Health course that our members have access to. Almost always you're going to find the Mealtime Method in the very first materials and resources. So you're going to just open it up and you can see there's a food guide here. So let me go to the food guide. I'm going to share this tab now. This is your food guide. This is week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. And then we always include a blank worksheet, which is going to make sense kind of as we move along here in our conversation. All right, so are you guys seeing this on Facebook? It doesn't look like you're seeing the screen share on Facebook. Let me know, Marcia, Hillary, are you seeing the screen on Facebook? Because it's actually not, it's not showing up for me. All right. I think that those of you joining us on Facebook might need to view it another way. Let me just come back to hello here. Okay, there I am. Hillary, can you let me know if you're seeing that on Facebook? Hillary, if you're not seeing the screen share on the Facebook group, if you could do me a favor and please drop in a food guide, like maybe a Heart Health food guide, just 1 week as an image inside of the feed here so that everybody knows. For those of you on LinkedIn and YouTube, you just saw what the Mealtime Method looked like. So it is this guide that is 65432, and it's a 6-point system. And if followed, basically will look like a grocery cart. And if followed, clients will naturally find themselves eating a more plant-heavy diet, right? Which is higher in fiber, higher in phytochemicals, lower in saturated fat, almost always. And the 6 is vegetables. The 5 is, whole grains and higher glycemic index vegetables. So things like potatoes and maybe sweet potatoes. So that's 6 is low glycemic index vegetables. 5 is another kind of plant category. 4 is fruits, another plant category. So 6 vegetables, 5 more vegetables, 4 fruits, 3 proteins. So the 3 proteins, that's kind of important because if you think about when people are shopping and planning for their week, whether they're following a meal plan or whether they're just kind of winging it, they always think of the proteins first, right? So what proteins am I going to bring into the house? And I would always, share with my clients, pick 3, like just pick 3. You do not need to make a different protein every night of the week. So pick 3 proteins. Typically 2 would be high quality animal proteins. So let's say something like turkey and salmon. And then the third could be tofu. Now, if you're counseling towards a 100% plant-based diet, you could go into our plant-based course in Living Plate in your library. And in there's going to be a mealtime method, 4 weeks of foods, list of foods that will address plant-based eating. So it's either, 75% plant-based with 25% high quality animal proteins, or it could be 100% plant-based proteins, right? Does that make sense? All right, thank you. Hillary, if you could drop that would be great. An image of the food guide. It seems like the screen sharing isn't working on Facebook. Facebook makes it difficult to do that. Sorry. Okay, so it's 654. Now we're up to 3, right? 2 high quality fats. That could be walnuts. That could be avocado. Avocado could also fit in fruits, but things like high quality fats like seeds, nuts. I don't include things like olive oil, garlic, and onions, kind of because those are baseline for meal prep, but olive oil would fit in that category too. And then the last category is dressings and toppings. So they could either be pre-purchased or you could make them yourself, right? So 6 veg, 5 more veg and whole grains, 4 fruits, 3 animal proteins, 2 high quality fats, and then pick 1, basically a dressing or a marinade that you can do during the week. Now, these categories, again, if followed, will help you counsel to a plate that is about 75% or more plants and plant materials, plant foods, right? And that's where we want to go. The plate method is great too, but the plate method doesn't always translate really well into like your grocery cart, right? So envision your grocery cart when you're shopping, you're not thinking of a plate, right? You're thinking of a list. And that's kind of where this mealtime method was born. All right, any questions so far? Hillary, can you still hear me? Just give me a thumbs up if we're all good. Okay. So now that you've seen and I've explained the mealtime method, I want you to understand kind of how this is going to fit right into your practice in a way that feels empowering and not overwhelming. So on the empowering part, you have these lists of foods. They might not be all the foods that your client likes. So the instruction is take a look at the mealtime method. You can either print it, you can share it if you're doing virtual counseling. We have blank forms. So give them a blank form. I want you to tell me 6 vegetables that you like. Now, the mealtime method really serves as an educational tool as well, because you're talking about this first category, 6. These are low glycemic index fruit vegetables, right? So things like cucumbers, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, so many that they can enjoy. So it also helps educate them, like what's the difference between that and a white potato or a sweet potato, or where can brown rice fit in, right? Because that is in the plant kingdom too. So 6 is going to really focus on low glycemic index vegetables. So have them list 6 initially that they like. That is you kind of empowering them to put whatever they want in their grocery cart, right? Not you telling them. So that's how this can work. And you can take them across all of the categories. Initially I would say just do 1 week, because they could use that 1 week for 3 months. There's just so much food on it that you'll be able to kind of see how it works. So you can either use a blank worksheet and just have them fill it in, or you can present them with one of the pre-populated worksheets. Again, every nutrition prescription, whether it's heart health, thyroid, PCOS, cancer, they're all going to have their own lists of foods, and anti-inflammatory diet. They're all going to have their own list of foods. So you can present those and then just have them edit it and take what they like from it. So it is a tool, not a rule. This is for answering this first question, is kind of the overall messaging. In order to have a conversation around food with your clients, which we are doing every day, and not to overwhelm them, you will use this as a tool, not a rule. You don't give this to them and say, buy all these things and make everything on your meal plan. Like, that's just not sustainable, and it will become overwhelming. So think of it as a tool, not a rule. Hillary, can you please give me a comment in the Facebook group, because I'm not seeing activity, and I'm just a little concerned. Maybe I should relaunch. So just let me know, Hillary, please. Thank you. Okay. And then use simple visual language. So comparing this to a grocery cart is just really a great way to share with the clients and to kind of work with them on it. Say, here's your grocery cart for the week. Now, either circle what you're going to put in your grocery cart or cross out what you're not going to put in your grocery cart. It can really go either way. But if they put these foods in their cart, they are going to be set up for success once they get home with your help, right? Now, this does work very closely with the meal plans. We have mealtime method plans inside of the library. And for those of you who are joining me on, let me just come back in here. For those of you who are joining me on LinkedIn and YouTube, I'm just going to show you again real quickly here. Oh, now it's not working. Okay, let's see here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so here's the mealtime method, right? We have, this is week 4 that you're looking at here. For week 4 of that Heart Health Mealtime Method meal plan, all of these foods are included, almost all of these foods are included on that meal plan. So if the client is looking at week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 of the Heart Health meal plan, they're going to be able to find recipes that work with this list. So that's the really cool part about it, right? So if somebody is not really keen or is kind of overwhelmed with a meal plan, which is a lot of people because there's a lot of recipes on there, then they can just look at this first and say, okay, I like asparagus, I like white beans, I like chicken, and my family likes strawberries and bananas. Great. So get those in your grocery cart and then go home and refer to your meal plan. You're going to find plenty of recipes there to help you out. Okay. Is that making sense? Great. All right. Let's go ahead and see here. Okay. So we are going to move on to talking about kind of modular meal planning. We're still answering this first question of how to introduce it so that it doesn't feel overwhelming. So use it as a tool, not a rule. Use visual language, compare it to a grocery cart. And then a modular mindset could be really great. I used it all the time. It's really how I cook. So it was very easy for me to talk to my patients about that. You know, modular meal planning, where you're taking a look at foods, whole foods. I have chicken, I have white beans, I have spinach. Okay, what can I do with that? Well, you can just really stack a meal, roast the chicken, saute the spinach, add the beans, right? So modular meal planning can be accomplished using the mealtime method. So take a look at what you have to work with based on what they're telling you that they like, and then you can kind of map it out together. So do me a favor and just type yes if that makes sense to you in answering that first question, like how can you use the mealtime method so that people don't become overwhelmed and that you can empower them. Find what they like, use it as a tool, and just kind of think modularly and also keep it very visual for them. Just type yes in the comments if you would. All right, great. All right, perfect. Hi, Romy. Nice to meet you. Yeah, so Facebook is giving us trouble today. I'm so sorry. I see a lot of questions that have been coming in that I haven't been able to respond to. So, Hillary, were you able to see the screen sharing when I had it up? Because I really would love to screen share. I'm just going to share it one more time here. All right. Let me know if you can see the screen that I'm sharing right now, which is the nutrition and heart health image there of the mealtime method. Let me know if you can see that. If you can't, then we're right back to where we started. Okay, sorry everyone. All right, so we are going to move on to question number 2, which was, what's the best way to integrate the mealtime method into my current workflow? I'm gonna come back to hello here. It does not look like it's sharing. Okay. Thank you, Hillary, so much. Okay, so how can you incorporate this into your workflow? So many places. Let's start with, what is your workflow? As a registered dietitian, we have a mandated workflow. So it's called the nutrition care process, right? And that's how we have to counsel our clients according to evidence-based standards. So the first part of the nutrition care process, and the acronym is ADIME for that, is assess. We need to assess the patient. We need to assess the client. Now that includes biometric data and kind of helping us get to a nutrition prescription, but it also includes a culinary and preference assessment. What do they like? What do they currently eat? Now, if I have a client who, it has made it very clear that they don't like fish, I'm not going to be sharing with them a mealtime method that includes a lot of fish, right? Like salmon and shrimp. So you want to be aware of that. Let's say you're working with somebody who follows a kosher diet. You're going to want to make sure that on that mealtime method that there are the foods are naturally kosher, or you can point them to make sure that you're buying kosher, right? So an example would be on the mealtime method, we do provide convenience foods. So like cauliflower crust could be a convenience food, or almond crackers could be a convenience food, right? So that's how you consider the mealtime method as part of the assessment process. So you could use the blank mealtime method, which I'm going to share. Sorry for those of you who can't see the screen right now, but I'm going to share the screen again, and I'm going to show you the blank worksheet. So at the end here, this is the blank worksheet, right? So have them fill it in, and that is an assessment. I want you to tell me 6 vegetables, 5 starches. Now, somebody might say to you, oh, I don't know what that, what is a starch? I don't know what that means. Well, that's an alarm bell, ding, ding, ding. You're going to go into the library and you're going to find information on starches so that you can provide that education, right? This is all part of the assessment process. What fruits, proteins, fats, seasonings, what kinds of dressings do you normally use? Do you use barbecue sauce? Do you use bottled Italian dressing? All of that can be part of the assessment phase. Now, the diagnosis, that's when you're going to be crafting the diagnosis, which is going to lead into the intervention, right? So D is diagnosis. What is a diagnosis? So let's just say excessive intake of high glycemic index foods, things like white bread and white potatoes and white rice and processed foods, right? So excessive intake of high glycemic index foods. Okay, so what does it, now we're getting very specific into what mealtime method am I going to use that fits their nutrition prescription. I promise you we have it. So we have a mealtime method for every nutrition prescription. The anti-inflammatory mealtime method fits many different nutrition prescriptions. So you can, open it up and edit it and brand it and make it your own, name it for whatever that nutrition prescription is. But we have them all covered. And then you move on to the intervention part, right? So how are we going to put together an intervention? Well, once the mealtime method is filled out for your patients, it becomes very easy to meal plan, like very easy. Oh, you can't, Natasha, great. You can see it on YouTube. So when I'm sharing my screen, it looks like you're able to, here we go. It looks like you're able to see this. So this is the blank one, okay? And these are, here's the week 4, week 3, week 2, week 1. Now we have them structured as weeks just because we have 4 modules, but you can use them however you want. But each week, each module is populated differently. So you have a lot of options there for your clients. Okay, we're coming back to hello. Okay, so you are going to be using it as part of your intervention. You're using it as a foundation for meal planning. And now when I say meal planning, could it be the digital meal planner that our members have access to? 100%. Like excellent, excellent resource for thousands of recipes that relate, that always point back to this method. Like, what do my clients like? What do they want to eat? Again, if they don't like fish, they're not going to be making the, sheet pan maple mustard salmon with Brussels sprouts, right? They can be instructed, maybe swap out the salmon for chicken or something else. So that's how you're going to be using it as part of the intervention. Now, in terms of monitoring and evaluation, you can always point back to the mealtime method. Like, how did it go? Were there any new foods that you tried on your mealtime method sheet? That's a great question to ask. Are there any foods that you want to try? Which foods are you finding that you're putting on repeat? If you were to take a look at what you bring into your house every week as a nutrition professional, I'm just going to think of myself here. I probably have, I don't know, maybe 2, maybe 3 mealtime method sheets that I can fill out, because I bring the same foods into my house all the time because that's what my family expects. And guess what? That's exactly where you want people to go, because that, establishing a repertoire is the goal. We're going to get to that when we answer question number 3. So the best way to integrate the mealtime method into your current workflow is to plug it into kind of your nutrition care process. Again, for our dietitians, that's kind of easy to understand, because you're going from assessment, diagnosis into the intervention. So It is your core education structure for your sessions when you're having a conversation around food, right? So during the session and after the session. It can help if you pair it with intake tools. That could be really helpful. Intake and assessment tools, right? So you're doing an assessment of a client. Let's say it's a bioscreen tool that shows that their intake of fiber is not quite where it needs to be. Well, show them the mealtime method and say, circle, like this is where you're going to find your fiber, right? Like it seems logical and simple for us, but it's not always obvious to everybody. So make sure that you point them to where they're going to find those high fiber foods. You can also provide them in conjunction with the Mealtime Method sheets, the Mealtime Method ebook. So I think I can take you in there too. Let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen one more time here. I'm going into, for those of you who are not able to see the screen, I am back in the library. I'm going to scroll down here. Oops. Okay. I'm going to go back to the library. I'm going to go to my ebooks and let's see, let's find the Mealtime Method ebook. Here it is. So here is your ultimate guide to the Mealtime Method. You will open this up in Canva. You will brand it for you, but let me just show you quickly what that looks like. It explains what the Mealtime Method is, and it shows them how to use it. So if you're not, if you're not familiar with the Mealtime Method already, and this session sparks your curiosity, which is what it's intended to do, then you should probably read through this ebook as well. But then you can use it as a client-facing tool. And it has some food guides in here too, as well as some sample recipes for them based on the guides. So it teaches them how to use the guide. So make sure that you refer to that as well when you're using it in practice. Really great, again, great base education structure. And then, of course, lastly, on ways to integrate it, use it as a base for your meal planning process for you as like the admin, right? So you can use it for your clients, refer to the Mealtime Method, go to your meal plan, find recipes that have these things, right? You can just search those foods in your meal planner and it will present to you what recipes have those foods. But as the practitioner, you can create the Mealtime Method based on a nutrition prescription that you focus on. So let's say you work with individuals who are recovering from a concussive disorder, for example. I don't know why I just thought of that, but like the MIND diet would be appropriate, or an anti-inflammatory diet. Then you want to create a meal plan for that, a signature meal plan for that. Start with the Mealtime Method. What evidence, because when they do research, they don't research recipes. They research foods, right? What foods, what categories of foods have been shown to assist people in recovering from concussive disorders? That you'll know, that's easy to find, and that's what you plug into the Mealtime Method. And then you just search for the recipes and build the meal plan. Is that making sense? Type makes sense if that's making sense, because that's really important for you as a practitioner to understand, which is when you're translating nutrition prescriptions into meal plans, it has to follow an evidence-based process. And again, the evidence comes from research, it comes from science, and they don't study recipes. They study the individual foods. So things like berries, things like resistance, foods that are high in resistant starch, like you're going to find tons of information on that. Those foods are what you plug into the Mealtime Method, and you plug them into these categories. So you make sure that people are front loading then I wouldn't say most important, but those foods that they should be consuming most of, which is plants. Okay, we have a question here from Romy. How is the saturated fat amount used in the Heart Healthy Meal Plan? So again, it's not the data, it's more about the foods, Romy. So on the Heart Healthy Meal Plan, we do not include foods, just generally speaking, we don't include many foods that are high in saturated fat. And so that's how we keep the saturated fat low in the Heart Healthy Meal Plan. Does it mean that somebody following the Heart Healthy diet should never eat saturated fat? Of course not. But if you follow the Mealtime Method for the Heart Healthy Plan, your diet is going to be naturally low in saturated fat. So we do not curate our plans by, just as a matter of reference for those of you who aren't familiar with our meal plans, we do not use algorithms to create our meal plans. Our meal plans are created from the food up, not the data up. Right? So we don't plug in data and say, algorithm, build a meal plan for me. Like if I did that, we would get all the numbers right on, but you would get really lousy meal plans that nobody's going to eat. So the meal plans are curated by nutrition and culinary professionals to consider what the science tells us. And for a heart healthy diet, it is controlling the amount of saturated fat. So Romy, we're not looking to hit particular numbers on that. We're looking for a diet that is naturally low in saturated fat. And if we plug in those foods, we're going to hit the numbers on that. We're just not focused on that. Does that make sense, Romy? Let me know if that makes sense, Romy, because I know you had asked that question before. Okay, Irene is saying light bulb moments. I love it, Irene. You may just make this whole session worth it, Irene. She's saying, yes, it makes sense now. Great. Okay. All right, we have people searching the Mealtime Method in their library and they're finding it. Yeah, mealtime is one word. We have it as one word. Okay, so now for those of you on with me, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to give me a number. How confident are you that you can use the Mealtime Method as part of your nutrition care process? How confident are you that you can do? How confident are you that you can get started with using it? Give me on a scale of 1 to 10, just drop a number. Is it an 8? Is it a 10? I want to hear from you because it's really going to help guide our conversation. So let me know how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling so far? Because we still have 2 more questions to answer. Mealtime Method, using it in practice. I want to hear from you. Okay. Okay, Romy is saying, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that wrong, but it's ROMY is saying an 8. So great. So what I want to know from you is why an 8 and not a 10? Like 8 is great, right? But this is how motivational interviewing goes. If you're asking somebody how confident are they, and they give you anything less than I'm good to go, you want to know, well, what can get you totally confident? Romy, I'm going to guess that it's just using it in practice, right? Seeing how clients respond to it and really getting comfortable with using it in practice. Is that a fair assessment? Romy, let me know. So let's see, what else do we have? Anybody else? Give me a number. Scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you so far, right? If you're a 5 or a 6, I want to hear, because there are things that I'm missing here. I'm not sharing that I potentially could be sharing that could help you. So Erica is asking a question. Is there any way to input the 6 group foods that client picks in the meal planner that will filter all recipes that have these foods? Again, Erica, you're talking about using algorithms to create meal plans. And is that possible? Yes, it is. But it never generates a good meal. Like, it doesn't create like a good eating experience, I guess you could say. It'll get the numbers right and it'll get the foods right, but not the combinations of the two. So the best thing to do, Erica, is to take a look at the Mealtime Method sheet that somebody fills out and start applying some of those foods. You know, I think, Erica, too, you could start with one of the pre-built Mealtime Method meal plans, and because maybe one of those fits. We've already done all that work for you. So if you go into the Mealtime Method Heart Healthy Meal Plan, all of those foods are already plugged into the meal plan, right? Now, not all of them 100%. That would be really hard to do, but most of them. And it does allow for flexibility. So again, let's say your client doesn't like salmon, and salmon is one of the proteins that we plugged in, then you just delete it and replace it with something else. So the idea, Erica, is that you're never creating a meal plan from scratch. You're going to start with one that we currently have built for a Mealtime Method prescription, and then you're going to edit it from there. It should be a lot easier for you. Okay. Oh, hi, Vibrant Nutrition and Wellness. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Okay. So question number 3 now. We're moving on. How can I use the method to support sustainable behavior change and shift the food conversation? Love this. I just had a conversation with a colleague on our podcast about really meal planning, and, how it can be effective, like how it hurts and how it can be effective. So the wrong way, let's just start with that, not the wrong way, but I would say almost inappropriate way to use the Mealtime Method in meal planning is to give somebody this method and a meal plan and say, here's your meal plan, follow it. Because nobody follows the meal plan. And that is asking a lot of a client. The goal is to use the Mealtime Method and the meal plans and recipes that you provide as tools, as learning tools, right? They are not mandates. And if you are providing somebody with like a PDF meal plan or even a PDF of the Mealtime Method, you should be delivering that with the messaging that this is not exactly what you need to do, but I'm going to teach you how to use this tool to support you with meeting your health goals, right? So, understanding how this method works to achieve sustainable behavior change is truly where the magic happens. And the magic happens when your clients are autonomous and they can kind of meal prep and meal plan all on their own. That really only happens once they establish a repertoire. Again, I'm going to point back to you thinking about what are the foods that you bring into your house all the time. I guarantee you're not making a new protein every single night. Almost all of us. And why don't you just drop that now? For those of you joining me on the call right now, I want you to drop in, what are the 3 proteins that are kind of on repeat in your house? 3 proteins. We'll just pick one category because it's short. I want you to give me 3 proteins that you are shopping for weekly that are, almost always in your rotation. Mine are chicken, bison, and I would say cross between tofu and beans, right? That's my plant-based one. But I always have chicken and I always have bison, ground bison, because that's the red meat that my family prefers. So tell me, I want you to drop in the comments, please, 3 proteins that are on repeat in your house. What would be on your Mealtime Method category 3? 3 proteins. Once your clients have been doing this method with you, I would say for about 2 or 3 weeks, they're going to find things that they like on the meal planner. Oh, I've never roasted a chicken before. I usually just buy roasted chicken. It was so easy. Now I can roast a chicken. Now I'm going to put that on repeat. That is a score, right? That's a big score for you. I've never made roasted carrot soup and it was so easy. I'm going to make that again. Great. That's going to be part of their repertoire. Establishing a repertoire in the kitchen is how people achieve sustainable behavior change. Sustainable behavior change. I'm getting so excited. So I'm bumbling with my words. That's how people make behavior change. They find things that they like, that they can be consistent with, and that they can stick with, and then it all kind of falls into place, right? So that's where the magic happens. The way that the Mealtime Method also supports this is that it's positive conversations. It's not about eliminating foods. It's not about, okay, you can't have this, you can't have this, you can't have this. Well, what can I have? Oh my goodness, look at all these foods that I can have and that I can enjoy. That contributes to sustainable behavior change. Also, it supports long-term thinking and can really be flexible with life changes and season changes. So the Mealtime Method today, if I were creating it for a client, it's going to look very different in 3 months. I'm not going to put peaches as a fruit that's available now for my clients, or I might not even put tomatoes, right? Maybe they're canned tomatoes, but if we're focusing on fresh foods, that's going to change seasonally, right? So the Mealtime Method is super flexible and it does support long-term thinking, right? I'm looking at my Mealtime Method. I see, cucumbers are on the list again. How many things can I do with cucumbers? They start establishing their behavior, become sustainable, and then it becomes a long-term habit. It makes you, the Mealtime Method makes you look like a real pro, and it makes you look like a guide instead of an enforcer. And that's the whole idea behind like tools, not rules, right? You're a guide, like here are the foods, right? If you like to have, other foods that aren't on this list, that's fine. Let's see how they fit, because all foods can fit in the Mealtime Method. So keep that in mind as you're using it in practice. Okay, I see a lot of people have joined us on YouTube here. Natasha is saying that she is a 9 on the scale. That is amazing. Romy is saying that chicken, salmon, beans, and lentils. Great. It was pretty easy for a lot of you to identify your proteins, right? A bunch of you dropped it in here. Barbara's saying, depending on the client, I can see encouraging that they add 1 new food to their list of foods for the week. Barbara, that's great. Your Mealtime Method might not be completely filled out for a client if they're just getting started, or maybe their culinary competence really isn't that great. So maybe there are only, instead of 6 vegetables, there are only 3. And the goal is to find 6 low glycemic index vegetables that they can really get comfortable with and consuming. And remember, not all of these things have to be prepared and cooked, right? You might have cucumbers and carrots and endive chips. All 3 of those don't have to be cooked. They can be used as vehicles for other things like hummus, which would fit into the next category, which with beans and legumes, right? So, keep an open mind when you're using the Mealtime Method, that it's not rigid. Like use it that in a way that best fits your philosophy. And Barbara, I know, you're a family meals dietitian, so you're going to be working with clients to figure out what foods can we put in here that will support them with getting family meals to the table quicker, right? So always looking at it from kind of your niche angle is really great. Marcia, you found it in the library. Perfect. Great. Marcia was asking where she could find it. All right. So establishing a repertoire is how, bottom line, that's how it supports sustainable behavior change. You're really establishing a repertoire, but it takes a lot of work to get there. And I think as practitioners, we do take that for granted a lot of the time. I know that I do. Just go home and roast a chicken, make some brown rice and steam some broccoli, right? Sounds so easy, but for somebody who is not comfortable in the kitchen or who is really tight on time, which is everybody, even that can be overwhelming. So your goal is to support them in establishing some type of a repertoire. All right, question number 4. How does the 6-point food guide work in practice, and how can I use it with my clients? I think we've talked about that actually already. I've answered that question, but let's just talk specifically that it helps them build meals with confidence and flexible structure. So it helps them build meals with confidence. So they're going to take a look at, I'm going to share my screen again here. Let's just go to, let's go to the heart health one again. So here's the heart health mealtime method. If you take a look at these categories, I want you, everybody who's on with me right now, I want you to put a meal together really quick, a meal or a snack. Take a look at this nutrition and heart health week 1. And for those of you who can't see my screen, I'm just going to share with you kind of what's on it. So the proteins are beef, lean beef, salmon, and tofu. And then we have some vegetables, broccoli, carrots, zucchini, kale. Some starches are quinoa, brown rice, and then we have some fruits as well. Let's just pick salmon, for example, if that's a protein. What low glycemic index vegetable could you pair with salmon to get closer to getting to a meal on the table? Share that with me in comments. Let me know. What could we pair, those of you who are looking at this right now, what can we pair with salmon that could help us make a really simple meal? I'll go first. I see salmon as one of my proteins. I probably serve that once a week along with cod as another option for fish once a week. So salmon. Okay. So what are the starches that I'm going to make? I'm probably going to make quinoa, and maybe I will stir fry the quinoa with some kale, put some greens in the quinoa, really to kind of amp up my vegetables. And then I'm going to steam some broccoli, right? So Hillary is saying 1 recipe. Do you mean the ingredient list? Here, hold on. Oh, okay. Sorry, Hillary. Yeah, so you don't have to make a recipe. I'm really talking about putting together modular meals. So take a look at this, put together a modular meal. I'm going to come back here to see what we have here. Oh, Romy is saying salmon with asparagus. Now, Romy, are you going to include starch in that or no? You don't have to, but maybe with salmon and asparagus, a roasted sweet potato could be great. Like that's really easy kind of meal to put together. Roast the salmon with the asparagus. We have a salmon asparagus sheet pan dinner. So that's perfect, right? That's 1 pan. And then make some roasted sweet potatoes, either in your microwave or in the oven, right? A lot of things that you could do with that. Thank you for participating, Romy. That's perfect. Yes, brown rice would be great. Perfect. So that's how you would use that 6-point system. Just come to hello. You take a look at kind of once it's filled in, you take a look at the overall structure, and then you just start putting together meals. For most patients, it is not going to be intuitive to start with, so they're really going to need your help. But you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner of the Mealtime Method, we do make some recipe suggestions. Those recipes are on the digital meal planner. So to keep it simple, you could search for some of those recipes to include. So if chia seeds are one of the, in the seed and nut category, those are the ones that you're going to focus on for that week, then you'll be able to search for many recipes that include chia seeds on the meal planner. And you could give them that recipe. Again, you don't have to offer them a digital meal planner if they're just getting started. That might be overwhelming, but you as a practitioner can certainly go into the meal planner and find 3 or 4 recipes that align with the Mealtime Method. It would literally take you less than 5 minutes. And then your client is walking out the door with an actionable goal. I'm going to try and make these 3 recipes before I see Romy the next time. right before my next session. So they're getting really actionable goals, which is, we didn't talk about that, but part of the sustainability conversation, like how does the mealtime method support sustainability? It will only work if you set goals around it, right? People just don't change their behaviors, right? Because you're cheering them on. They change behaviors because you set goals with them that they agree to, they commit to the goal. And then when they come back, the question is, were you able to meet that goal or not? If you did, fantastic, let's move forward. If you haven't met that goal, let's say your goal was to make an overnight chia pudding, you didn't make that goal, why not? Was it you just didn't have time, or you didn't like the chia seeds? Maybe you made it, you didn't like it. And you need to address that to uncover the barriers that are preventing them from changing their behavior, right? So set goals using your mealtime method and either the meal plans or the recipes that you provide them. Right, that's how it kind of all comes together. The mealtime method can also help simplify grocery shopping. So it could literally serve as a grocery list for most people. The categories are going to be spending a lot of time in the produce section, which is where you want them to spend a lot of time. And then it's really easy to kind of pick out the other things that they need to put together, either the modular meals or recipes from the meal plan. The visual framework is really helpful. That's why this 6-point system works so great, because people are like, oh, okay, my doctor's telling me I need to eat more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Well, oh, this is what it looks like, right? It should be more vegetables. We always say fruits first, which I think is super interesting. Fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. It really should be vegetables, whole grains, and fruits. And it just kind of puts it in context of, everything else that you're putting into your kitchen. And it also provides you a space to personalize nutrition. Again, it supports you with looking like a real pro, because you're paying attention to what their desires are and kind of how, and their preferences, right? And how it helps them meet their outcome. So it's really less about creating perfect meals, which is why telling somebody to follow a meal plan is never a good idea. Like, they don't have to cook breakfast, snack, lunch, and dinner every single day. You can, just put together these simple meals that can definitely support you with meeting health goals. And then every once in a while, on a weekend or when you have extra time, then dive into something a little bit more complicated. So has anybody used the mealtime method yet already? Let me know. Say yes if you've used the mealtime method already. Let us know how that looks. Hillary is saying, on top of the meal plan, there's an icon that will take you to the grocery list for each meal plan. I caution you with generating the grocery list, because the grocery list will generate a shopping list that has all of the ingredients for recipes that are on that meal plan. So edit the meal plan first, edit the mealtime method first, then go to the meal plan and say, okay, this is what the client is thinking. Maybe they want to focus on dinners, so I'm going to take everything else away. Or maybe they're going to, just focus on dinners and snacks. You can leave notes inside of the meal planner to kind of point them to, areas where they've made a commitment, like a goal setting commitment. Oh, this was the roasted carrot soup we were talking about, or here's a sheet pan dinner for salmon, right? And then whatever stays on that meal plan will be put on the grocery list. You never want to give somebody a meal plan and just have them go home and generate a grocery list. Otherwise, they're going to get tons of food in their kitchen that they may not be using, right? Natasha is saying for her meal on the mealtime method, it would be salmon, broccoli, and brown rice. Yep. That's on repeat for me too, Natasha. Okay. That's great. So for those of you joining us today, I hope that this supported you with kind of transforming your client's experience around food and nutrition. The mealtime method really is a very compassionate way to have the conversation around food and nutrition. Again, people are coming to you with a high level of stress, and you want to support them, with kind of simple ways that they can meet their health goals without a ton of stress. If you are new to Living Plate RX, I just wanted to chat with you a little bit about how you can connect with us. I did share with everybody kind of a little bit of behind the scenes in the library, but you can sign up. And if you could drop that link in for the demo call, Hillary and Molly, drop the link for the demo call for anybody who's interested in taking a look behind the scenes. I can show you the mealtime method. I'll show you the meal plans, and we'll also take a look at all the resources that Living Plate has to offer. We support thousands of nutrition professionals with all the done-for-you resources that you need to run your practice. And they're all editable. So you put your brand on them, you can edit the content, all of that. And we train you on how to use them, as evidenced by this session for you. You also get access to a digital meal planning platform, which is best in the business, thousands of recipes, 100% customizable for you and your clients, powered by food, not by data, although we do provide you with the data. So, very different than algorithm generated meal plans. I think that you'll find it really interesting to take a look at. And then we also provide you with coaching, business coaching, online coaching, and really training on how to use the tools. So you get access to this massive library of all the materials that you need to run your practice, but we also support you with how to. So you're getting the what, and you're also getting the how to. So if you're interested in taking a look behind the scenes, sign up for a demo call. I'll review the Mealtime Method. I'll show you how you integrate all of our tools into your workflow. And then you'll be able to see why. I think for a lot of people who join the demo call, some of them are really quiet at the end. I'm like, are you guys okay? Was this too much? They're like, no, but a lot of the times what we hear is, I can't believe I've been creating all of this content by myself for so long. Why have I been recreating the wheel over and over again when you've already done all the work for me? And that's music to my ears, because that's really what Living Plate RX is all about. We don't want you to be burdened with content creation. We are here to eliminate that burden with confidence, knowing that everything that we deliver to you is evidence-based, including the Mealtime Method and how it applies to the nutrition care process. So are there any other questions about the Mealtime Method, how you can use it in practice, how it relates to meal planning? Just let me know here before we sign off, because I think that we're good. Hillary, everything good? Okay, so the call that I am referring to, the demo call, is for people who have not been behind the scenes. If you're not a member and you haven't seen the library and you haven't seen the meal planner, sign up for the demo call. If you're already a member, we have other support for you. So we have strategy calls that you can join up for. And then we also have our entire team kind of in our support area, the chat widget in the bottom right-hand corner of every page of your membership. Your meal planner and your library, you'll be able to reach out to us. And Hillary is almost always there, and she'll point you in the right direction. If it's a tech issue or a training issue, we want you to be successful, and we're going to do everything that we can to support you in being successful. And really, being successful is getting great health outcomes for your clients and patients without burning out, and having a sustainable business, right? And making money without kind of this burden of content creation all the time. All right, so Hillary, are we good? Okay, Hillary did drop the link for the demo call, so I think we're good. Molly dropped it in YouTube and in LinkedIn. I look forward to seeing some new faces in our next demo call. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me on Instagram at Living Plate. If you're a member, reach out to us in the chat widget. We are always here to support you. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to hear how you're using the Mealtime Method. Those of you in the Facebook group, please share. How are you using this? Because I think once you start using it with your patients, you're going to feel so much relief, and they're going to have so much value. They're going to see so much value in the services that you offer. I think it's really going to be magical for you. All right, thank you so much, and I will see you guys again next time. Thanks so much.